Hello and welcome back to the One with My Friends podcast. I am your host, Assam. That is your other host, Yasser. Yasser,
What's up, everybody?
what's up? And that is our producer, Adam. Adam, what's up?
Hey guys.
All right. Well, today, first of all, how's y'all's weekend, or how's your week been, Yasser?
My weekend was actually pretty good. We had a soccer tournament.
Now we want to talk about soccer. Okay.
We want to talk about soccer. It was the final game of the season, and it was win or tie or go home, and we tied the best team in the league, 4-4. Fun fact: they've only had 2 goals scored against them all season long. We scored 4, so we see them Friday night.
Game? Okay,
in one game. We'll see them again Friday night, round 1 of the playoffs. So there we go.
What about you, Dubby? How was your weekend?
My weekend was great. Thanks for asking. I went to a soccer game yesterday. Yasser, Chef Yacht. No, I didn't go. Well, maybe. No, I went to the Nashville soccer team game, and I dressed up as Princess Leia because it was May the 4th. And if you know anything, may the force be with you. So I had to do it. I had the buns and everything. I stood out. Got a lot of compliments, got a lot of weird looks, but, I had a good time.
All right. Well, we have a really good episode to talk to y'all about today, so let's go ahead and get into it. We will be talking about The One with the Thumb, this episode aired on October 6, 1994, and back for his three-peat, directing for the third straight time is who, Yasser? James Burrow.
James Burrow. That's right.
All right. In this episode, Monica becomes irritated when everyone likes her new boyfriend more than she does. Chandler resumes his bad smoking habit. Phoebe is given $7,000 when she finds a thumb in a soda can. I like how she said, instead of like screaming, like how someone else, a normal person would, she was just like,
It's like, you don't see this every day.
Yeah.
It's a tiny little hitchhiker floating in there. This scene opens up once again in Central Perk. I mean, how else would you open up an episode of Friends than in Central Perk? But instead of Monica starting us off with an opening line, it's Phoebe, and she walks in. And Ross asks her about the outcome of her recent date, and she's like, well, not so good. He took me to the subway and basically told me we should do it again. And Rachel's like, well, that's a good thing, right? He told you we should do it again. And Monica was telling her, no, that probably means you're never going to see me naked. So it starts a series of conversation between them. And Joey's basically explaining to Rachel that these types of subtle letdowns is like a dating language. It's not me, it's you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so true, too, because we use sometimes in relationships, we'll use certain languages like that to describe how we really feel. And it's sure enough, like even in 1994, those were still alive and people are still using them.
Have you ever had anybody tell you that we should see other people?
Oh man, that's the word. Like they said,
that one seemed like it was the worst. I was like, I've never had that. Thank God.
Because she's right, because it does mean it usually means I already am.
Yeah. I've never had that one. I was like, oh, thank God. But
no, I've never had that.
It's probably happened to me. No one's at least ever said that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot worse things said to me, but that would be pretty bad too. What's so interesting about this opening scene, Moby, is that Rachel seems kind of oblivious to this type of dating language.
Yeah, because
and you think of all people, Rachel would kind of like she just left her guy at the altar. She would know, right?
I think the opposite. She never breaks up. Yeah, I'm sure nobody ever breaks up with her.
Sure.
She probably does it, and she's just like oblivious to like, she just probably like, oh, I'm done. Or look how she did it. She just ran out. She didn't give him no.
Do you think she's naive?
She did it on the wedding day. She is.
But do you think, let me ask you this. Do you think Barry would have left Rachel if she would have stayed in a relationship with him? Like, do you think eventually he would have left her? Or do you think Rachel's probably the best thing?
He would have just cheated on her.
Yeah. With Mindy.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
So Joey says that these types of letdowns help cushion the blow. And Chandler uses an example of when you're a kid and your parents put your dog to sleep, and then tell you went off to some farm. And Ross jumps in all excited, and he's like, that's funny because our parents actually did send our dog off to live on a farm. Ross believed that Chi-Chi was sent to Milner's farm in Connecticut, where they had horses and rabbits to chase around. And Ross looks around, and the look on his face, he's like, oh my God, Chi-Chi.
It took him so. He's like, what's funny about this is Ross was the idiot in this one,
Yeah.
and even Joey is looking at him like, bro, what's wrong with you? Like, it took you that long. So I don't know. That was a little different. I thought that was interesting.
You said last episode that episode 2 felt like the first episode of Friends for you. I felt like this one was the first episode of Friends for me. This is where a lot of that stuff starts happening, that typical sitcom-y stuff, and the coincidences and
I will say
their jokes.
Yeah, I will say, like, these are the best, like, type of. I see what you're saying about, like, the scenes, because them sitting around discussing, like, relationships or whatever, and that really did feel like Friends.
It did. It did. And what's so great is, like, the earlier in the scenes, they kind of set you up what's to come. Then you'll have, like, the middle stuff. And then at the end, they'll close all the loops. And they're funny, and they hit every single thing we're going to see here throughout the episode.
It always comes back.
So now we're introduced into Joey and Chandler's apartment for the very first time. Moby, the scene opens up with the camera focusing on a portrait on the wall. Do you know anything about this portrait on the wall of the two guys, and the guy has like the thing tied up on his head like he just had his wisdom tooth removed or something?
Not anymore. I did like 20, 15 years ago. It's something to do with like an old movie or something with like comedians.
So this
something
picture,
like that. Yeah.
And this is a little, it kind of tugs on the heartstrings a little bit, especially now that we know what happens to Matthew Perry in 2024. I think it happened. Maybe 2023. I don't remember. Probably 2024. But essentially, it's two best friends, Laurel and Hardy. They were both comedians in Hollywood between 1921 and 1951. They had about a 30-year career in Hollywood. These two guys were so funny that even after their movies, kind of like you and I, we still laugh and replay the same jokes over. So they were those types of guys. Okay. And they had such a strong off-screen friendship that when one of them died, the other person just was completely lost without their friend, and they had a hard time making movies after that, and he never made another movie. Okay. So the reason why the producers showed this as the very first thing that you see inside Joey and Chandler's apartment is to represent their friendship on the screen and also off screen. And I thought, like, I'm getting a little goosebumps because
that's cool. I never knew that. I knew it was something like that, but I didn't know the connection, like how they tried to connect it to the very first scene with them. So that's neat.
Yeah. And hey, and just the way they started off, like Chandler's being a good friend. He's rehearsing lines with him, and he's helping him out with his next gig. And part of the scene, part of the script is Joey lights up a cigarette and he starts to cough. Chandler tells him he needs to relax his wrists. Joey relaxes his wrists a little too much, and he's like, "Whoa, hey, that's a little too much." So Chandler decides to he offers to demonstrate for Joey how to smoke a cigarette, and Joey's a little bit reluctant at the beginning because of some old habits, but he eventually gives in and lets Chandler have the cigarette. Chandler's really enjoying the cigarette, and Joey is like, "You're really enjoying this. You really miss this, don't you?" And Chandler's like, "Not really." But we all know he really is. And Chandler takes one puff and is like, "Oh my God." And we can tell in a very euphoric way he's enjoying this. And we're going to see Chandler struggle with his cigarette addiction throughout this episode. And I just couldn't help but to think about Matthew Perry's real addiction off the screen, throughout the show of Friends. And he really portrayed that Chandler character in both real life and in front of the camera, and still it's heartbreaking.
No, I agree.
Did you notice something that throughout the episode, and Adam, I don't know if you picked up on this because usually you pick up on things, but did you notice that every time Chandler had a cigarette throughout this episode, it was always a full lit cigarette, like they just lit it? It was never halfway. It was never like to the filter. It was always a full length cigarette, and I always thought like that was a little bit of a miss by the producers.
I thought it was pretty cool at the end of the scene when Chandler takes that hit of the cigarette, he just melted. You
Yeah.
could see his body the way.
That nicotine was hitting.
We all know that feeling, whether it's a cigarette or whatever your vice is. Just that. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
That euphoria.
Yeah, that euphoria. Like you just
Yeah.
get home from work and like you light up a cigar or something, you're enjoying your day, and it's like, man, this was what it's all about right here. And hey, we learned in this episode that it's been 3 years since he's had his last cigarette. So it's that was like a 3-year inhalation right there.
Oh,
He
yeah.
really meant it.
did y'all like the joke of when he's going through and teaching Joey, the proper way to hold the cigarette? I
Yeah.
thought it was a really great joke by the writers.
Yeah.
A really nice back and forth. It was, let your wrist go. Not so much, whoa, hey.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
you watch
The
it.
timing of it, of Joey and Chandler, that was really well done by the actors and the writers, in my opinion.
Yeah. Really good chemistry all the way around. So the next scene, we are back at Central Perk. Monica kicks off the scene in probably one of the most iconic moments in the show. And that starts off with her saying, no. They say it's the same distance from the tip of a guy's thumb to the tip of his index finger. And you see all the guys there measuring, and then Joey does this thing where he kind of hides his. He doesn't want anybody to see it.
Like, it's stupid.
Yeah. And then he's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Ross says something so weird. He's like, can I use either
Can
thumb?
I use my other thumb? Because it wasn't me.
That's kind of a weird thing to say to your sister, though. You know what I mean?
That's
She's
weird
kinda
for her
like-
to bring it up in the first place. That's what I'm saying, that they're even talking about it. She's the one telling them.
You know, every guy who watched that episode, who watched that moment, sat there and measured. Because I did it without even thinking about
Oh,
it.
I used to do
Immediately, I
that.
put my
Oh, yeah.
hand up. I was like, hold on a second.
Yeah. Hey, look at y'all just showing
I'm like,
it
Joey,
live.
this is ridiculous. What's that?
I said, dang, you showing it live.
Yeah. I was,
Yeah, I was just-
I was showing a lot. Hey, if you're watching this, it's live. I just measured my fingers. All right, so this scene is actually probably one of the longest Friends scenes in terms of they try to pack a lot of information and a lot of story arcs into one scene. So that was really the first part, was like the finger measurements. The second part of the scene is Rachel showing up with a tray full of drinks, and she's handing the orders out to everybody.
she messed
Assam,
up everything.
do you remember who got what drink initially?
Initially, she
Yes.
gave Monica the tea.
Okay.
She gave Ross the yellow cup of coffee, I'm guessing. Is that
It
true?
was a black coffee. Okay.
Black
And
coffee.
the way he holds it, the way he receives, he's like,
Yeah.
he was very funny about it.
And I don't remember after that.
The real order of drinks and who was supposed to receive what. Joey was the one with the pink latte. That was his order in the pink cup.
That's
Chandler
right.
had the black coffee. Monica had the decaf cappuccino, and Ross had the iced tea. That was the
Okay.
correct order. She totally messed that one up. So in
Some-
walks in Phoebe. She's mumbling something to herself like a crazy woman. Joey's basically asking her if she's okay. Phoebe's like, I'm fine, but I was going through my mail, and I opened it up, and when she saw her bank's monthly statement, and it was an extra $500. Calm down, Ross. Tells me, calm down. There's an extra $500 in her account. She's upset about it. And Chandler was like, oh, Satan's minions at work again. That one had me rolling. That was a very clever way of saying, wow, like, you're really upset about that, huh?
Yeah.
That was working against you. Phoebe's upset. She's got to go down all the way to the bank and deal with him. And Joey's like, what are you talking about? Keep it. Phoebe said the problem with that is she didn't earn it, and she wouldn't feel like it's a commendable thing to do. And Phoebe's like, if I keep the money, it'd be like stealing it. And Rachel's like, yeah, but if you spend it, it'd be like shopping, which is always on Rachel's mind.
Yeah.
We see Chandler leaning over the couch doing something. Monica catches him smoking a cigarette. They're not happy about it, and they voice their displeasure. In this scene, like I said earlier, we find out that Chandler stopped smoking 3 years ago. And this is my reward.
My reward.
Ross reminds Chandler of what happened the last time he tried quitting. So Chandler suggests maybe he shouldn't quit at all then, you know?
I got to say,
So,
he is hitting them with really good, interesting
he's
facts
hitting
here. I mean, like, these are good comebacks. He's on
Yeah.
fire this episode.
He's been on fire since the beginning, but this
It must
episode
be
he's
the
on fire.
cigarettes. I don't know what it is, but he's on fire.
Probably.
This episode.
Yeah.
He gets one
Yeah,
puff,
he's
and that
killing
dude is just destroying everybody.
But he had an asshole move. He put his cigarette out in Phoebe's cup, and I couldn't believe for the life of me why he did that. Why would you just take your cigarette and put it out in the cup, and there's an ashtray right in front of you?
That was a huge dick move.
That was a dick move. I don't understand it.
Not only that, okay, so explain to me why he leans over the couch and smokes a cigarette to hide it from everyone.
He wants to get caught.
Or is that just writing, like we have to transition to, or I'm genuinely asking, like,
I think it's a story situation. I think that's Chandler's way of reaching out for help, saying, "Look, I've got a problem, and I'm going to do this in front of you guys so you can call me out on it." But we find out later in the episode that there's only one person who can get Chandler to quit smoking cigarettes, and we'll get into that. And that leads me into the last part of the scene, is where Monica's telling the gang she's going to change and get ready for dinner, for her date. And Rachel asks her if she's seeing Alan again and how that's going with Alan. And Monica's letting her know that it's good and they're having fun. And Joey's basically eager to meet Alan. And Monica so brilliantly says, "So let's see, today is Monday, never," implying that they will never get to meet Alan. It's not going to happen. And I think she's just worried that it's going to be the same situation as Steve, because we all love Steve. He was so sexy.
Steve.
Yeah. So they're clearly making fun of Steve, Monica's former person in her relationship.
Yeah. Sounds like Monica goes on a lot of dates.
I was just about to say, can we sit here for a second and recap the men that Monica has dated so far in the first 3 episodes of this season? We got Paul the wine guy.
Paul the wine guy. Actually,
and then we've got
I don't love him,
Alan.
but I love the name.
Yeah,
But sorry,
I love
go
the
ahead.
name.
Yeah.
And then we got Alan.
Yeah.
Now, does Steve count, or are we counting people that appear on screen? I feel like we should only count people we see. Otherwise, that can get really crazy if we sit there and try to count every guy.
Yeah.
So far, there's 2 dudes in 3 episodes with Monica.
Yeah. With a mention of a third.
With the mention of a third, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, she's got to catch up. Didn't sound like she probably went on a lot of dates in high school.
No, that's exactly it, because she's fat. She was fat.
She's doing her thing. Chubby.
Yeah.
She was chubby. Just
politically correct term.
Yeah.
Adam, is this something we can keep a tally of? I think that'd be a fun thing we keep up with.
Yeah.
should we do that for every character? I can't keep up with Joey.
No, just Monica.
No.
It'll be hers. You can't keep up with Joey.
Adam's like, I can't do Joey, bro. I gotta sleep. I gotta get some sleep. No, I guess that is kind of mean just to pick on Monica.
Well, I mean, it's these 2 episodes. Like, she's already dating all these dudes, so I figured let's just keep it
You didn't say
tallying.
nothing about Joey yet, though.
I mean, you can't keep track of him. In the next scene, we're at Monica's workplace. It's called the Iridium Restaurant. Moby, did you know this is a real restaurant in New York?
I did not.
And they have incredible reviews. So maybe next time I'm in New York.
Yeah.
The scene opens up with Monica venting to her coworker about her friends meeting Alan. She refers to them as coyotes because essentially they hound her dates within the first 5 minutes of meeting them. Monica's coworker says it's not a terrible thing that your friends are just looking out for you. And Monica then says she wished she could bring one guy home that they liked, which sets up the punchline for the finale of this episode, essentially. So she's complaining about wishing that they would like one of her dates, and then she's about to get what she wished for here in these next couple of scenes here.
We can cut this out, but what does the other chef mean when she says, "I've had my share of bad beef"?
Yeah.
Dick.
Yeah.
Talking about dick.
Talking about dick. Yeah.
So
Well, it's a double on thing.
Diseases and stuff. Like,
No. It's a restaurant, so it's two-way.
It's a
It's
restaurant.
one, I work in a restaurant and I've served and I've had bad beef, and two, I've
Two.
had some bad men
Yeah.
implying dick.
Dick.
The
Okay.
beef is the dick.
It's their right.
It's
You're
true.
allowed to. Yeah, that's how I took it. Because she also said you should always feel the thing. Or I
You
guess
should
that's the
always
later-
feel.
that's the later scene, but still.
Yeah,
I
no,
took
definitely
it
you
a
would
different way, but I understand.
That's the way I took it.
know. Loud and clear.
Yeah.
So back at Monica and Rachel's apartment, we see Joey sitting down eating what appears to be cheesecake or pie, and he looks over at Ross and he's like, "Let it go." And Ross is looking at a picture and tells Joey, "Well, you didn't know Chi-Chi."
Didn't know Chi-Chi. That's
Poor
kind of sucked to
Chi-Chi.
like finally realize your dog is dead.
After, how you should have, like, you're a grown man. You should have known.
That's. I mean, Ross is too smart to fall for that. Like, wouldn't he have went and visited him one time since he's been an adult?
Poor Chi-Chi.
Yeah.
Monica, as nervous as she is, has the group promise that they behave themselves when Alan shows up. Chandler's outside smoking a cigarette and motions some sort of promise in sign language. Phoebe walks into the apartment
Scout's
all
honor.
pissed off. What's that?
Scout's honor.
Scout's honor. Phoebe walks into the apartment all pissed off and starts reading from a letter from the bank where they're giving her even more money, another $500 because of the error they made earlier. They also sent her a football phone, which looks pretty badass, and I wish I had in my office. I would totally
Right.
use it.
Right.
And Rachel said the exact thing that I was thinking to myself.
We all were.
What was it?
What bank is this?
What bank is this? Like, for real? Can we know? I want to sign up. Do they have like a first time
Yeah.
reward?
I feel like if it was our bank, one of our banks now, they'd probably charge us for like
Oh, yeah.
not telling them fast enough.
Oh, no. They would charge us for an error they made.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever use one of the football phones?
I've seen it. but
I've
never
seen
used
one and I touched it. And I thought
You
it
know
was
where they
awesome.
had them? They used to have them like at the supermarket during
Yeah, I
Super Bowl
think that's
season where
where
they
I- yeah.
stack up the drinks
Yeah,
and they
that's where
have
I
them
played
sitting
time.
there.
Yeah.
I feel like that is probably like 95% of the
Yeah.
answer right there. I've seen it, I've laid hands on it, but
Yeah.
no, I've never used
Never
it. We
had
didn't
it,
have
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Can we get into how they look? How they all dress? Like
Dude,
Monica?
Monica. I was like, what is she
dressed like a
wearing?
40-year-old. Yeah.
I have no idea.
It's so weird. And Ross, I mean, I understand he's like at a museum or whatever. It's just so weird. They dress like they're 40. They're younger than us in these episodes, and it's
Yeah.
just crazy seeing how they dress.
They
Monica
didn't
looks
start
like a
dressing.
librarian.
She does. They didn't start dressing better until I think about really well, probably about 6.
Yeah, that's
You
when
know?
that's when they started getting, or season 7 for sure is whenever they were getting like $1 million an episode. They look like
Oh,
movie stars by
They
like
look like
season
movie
7.
stars then.
Yeah.
So we hear a buzzer at the door, and it's Alan. And Monica reminds everybody to please be good. She opens the door, and he walks in, and right off the bat, Alan starts making fun of Steve to fit right in. And they all laugh their asses off. I've heard so much about you guys. Some time passes by, and the date seems to be over. Monica says she'll call him tomorrow and good night. I feel like that was a subtle one of those phrases that they used early on. She
Yeah.
dropped it, and I
Yeah.
don't think it was very subtle. I didn't pick up on it the first time. I didn't pick up on it until the second time I watched. I said, "Ooh, you did it!"
Yeah.
And that was kind of foreshadowing what was to come. She closes the door and walks towards the sitting area where the gang is lounging. Monica's ready for the Allen bashing to begin. "Who's ready to take the first shot?" says Monica. The gang is quiet. Finally, Ross speaks up and says, "I'll go." He tries by insulting Alan, but midway through, he couldn't help it. They all express how much they love Alan. Monica's surprised by the love that somebody she's dating is getting. Rachel, trying to contribute to the conversation, goes, "And did you notice?" and makes the finger gesture.
That's what I was about to say. The first thing Rachel says is, "Did you notice?" Like, all right, Rachel, what's on
Joey's
your
like,
mind?
yeah.
Yeah.
They all agreed, and they're like, "Yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah,
hard,
yeah.
that's hard to compete with."
Did you notice Ross looked a little upset? Like, white?
Yeah, they were like, "Yeah, that's great." Oh man.
Yeah.
one of my favorite part, that line was funny, and then also Ross in the kitchen. He's like, "Do you know what I like about him the most?
The
The way
way
he
he
makes me
makes you
feel
feel. And
about
everybody's like,
myself."
yeah.
Yeah, everyone's like, "Yeah." And this is like, Monica having that turning point is like, oh my God, finally they like somebody, and I don't know if I really like this. This is something I've always wanted, but I don't know if I really want this anymore,
Yeah.
which is kind of a strange psychology.
That's how it always works.
So back at Central Perk, Monica's at the counter reading a magazine, and the gang walks in, returning from what appears to be a softball game. Monica asks how the game went, and the game all looked down and depressed and quiet. And they're like, "We won!" And apparently they were playing with Alan. They were playing softball. They all jumped around and expressed their happiness. And apparently the only reason why they won is because of how unbelievably well Alan played. Ross did the funniest thing in the world. He compared him to the Bugs Bunny
Bugs
cartoon, where Bugs Bunny is playing in all position, and instead of Bugs Bunny, it was first base Alan, second base Alan, third base Alan. And yeah, when he did that, dude, it had me rolling, man.
He was unbelievable. He was like that Bugs Bunny cartoon where Bugs is playing all the positions, right? But instead of Bugs, it was first base Alan, second base Alan, third base.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Chandler's comment? Yep, we sure showed those Hasidic jewelers a thing or two about baseball. That was a very clever way of saying Hasidic Jews and refer to them as jewelers.
Yeah.
Phoebe, who decides to skip softball with Alan and the gang, has other plans. Somewhere in the streets of New York City, Phoebe approaches Lizzie, a homeless woman, along the sideway. Lizzie refers to Phoebe as Weird Girl, so I can't imagine this being a long-term friendship that they've had for a very long time. Phoebe has something else for Lizzie. She hands her an envelope with $1,000 in cash and also the football phone. And the $1,000 in cash all appears to be $100 bills. Did you guys notice that? They were $100 bills. So Lizzie has a hard time accepting money without offering something in return, so Phoebe lets Lizzie buy her a can of soda. We are at Chandler's office, and we see Chandler in his chair at his cubicle, and he is trying to secretly smoke a cigarette like nobody was going to notice the smell of smoke at work. A funny little scene, but I think the whole sole purpose of that scene was to further show the addiction that Chandler has to cigarettes. They could have easily cut that out and didn't really need to show it, but they really wanted to emphasize this addiction.
They had to show you what was going on with him. The best part was he smokes a cigarette. He does all that. He doesn't even type a sentence. It may be a word, and then he goes right back to smoke again.
Yeah, he's like smoking packs a day, not just one.
Destroyed me. It's like he did all that just to type a word, basically, and then go right back and do it over.
He needs another cigarette break.
Yeah, it was like that. That's how badly he needed the next one.
I've got to say, this scene takes me back to high school. Just slightly different scenario.
Yeah. You gotta get it when you can.
I know, right? Exactly. Yeah.
And he was going through so much just for one hit at a time. It's so funny that, I mean, he would take one hit, put it down, and then just, doing so
all that
much
work
for so
just for
little.
one little hit.
Just for one little drag. So back outside somewhere in the streets of New York City, we see a food vendor handing Phoebe a soda, and Lizzie tells the vendor to keep the change. Phoebe opens up a can and sees a thumb, as Ross said. Phoebe says she opened up the can and it was floating like a tiny little hitchhiker. And then Chandler was like, well, maybe it was a contest. Collect all 5. Dude, that had me rolling. I was like, that's so clever.
Well, my favorite part was how she, I said it earlier in the episode, but when she sees it, she don't scream, she don't drop it, she don't throw it. She goes, like, it's just like nobody else would do that. Anybody else would lose their mind.
Oh, especially in 2024. Could you imagine?
Oh my, they would have been, it would have been nuts.
Oh, yeah. It would have been all over TikTok, apparently.
Now,
let me finish this one.
Okay.
Chandler lights up a cigarette, and Rachel tells him the smoking is worse than the thumb. Chandler says it's unfair. He has flaws just like everyone else. And he starts calling them out one by one. Moby,
Yes, this is my
each
favorite scene.
person's flaw. Give me each person's flaw. Let's do it. Come on, start
Yeah.
with Joey. What's his flaw?
Joey cracking his knuckles.
What about Ross?
Ross over pronunciating each word.
Monica?
Monica, what did I forget?
Don't look down.
Oh,
See, he's
Monica.
looking down. He's
Monica,
looking
her
down.
snorting. I forgot for a second.
The snorting. Okay,
Yeah.
what about Phoebe? What does she do?
Phoebe eating her hair.
She chews her hair. And then Rachel?
Rachel getting everything, everybody's order, always wrong.
See, this is where we need a ding, ding, ding. Solid. That was really good.
Yeah.
You got it all right.
This is friends. This is a friend scene. Whenever anytime you have all six of them destroying destroying each other,
Yeah.
it's always a good scene. And I love this for Chandler. I put Chandler destroying everybody. He's like, y'all gonna come for me? Okay.
Yeah.
And then he actually didn't do everybody. He just did, which I thought was interesting. He did Ross, Joey, and Monica. I guess that's who he
Right.
probably felt most comfortable with.
Yeah.
And then Joey attacked Phoebe,
Yeah.
and then Phoebe attacked Rachel.
Rachel.
Rachel went back for blood on Phoebe. So I just thought that was really funny. But yeah, Chandler was like, "Oh, y'all gonna come after me? All right, let's light this thing up."
I saw that 3 times, and after each time, Phoebe's comeback to Rachel was fire.
Yeah.
They seemed to,
yeah.
it'd be nice if we got
Yeah.
our orders right. Each time I was like,
She even felt a little
damn.
embarrassed because she's like, the way she looked was like, "Oh, I probably went in a little too hard." But that's Phoebe though. That out of anybody, you don't want to mess with her. But also, that's a good technique by Chandler is whenever you know you're kind of wrong. So instead of like getting into like the situation and trying to argue that, you just go scorched earth on everybody else. It's like, "Oh, you want to come for me? Let's not talk about me. Let me go ahead and just roast everybody else. That way y'all think
Right.
about yourselves and get
Have
off
them
of me for a
fighting.
minute." Yeah, because
Exactly.
I can't defend myself. So yeah, I
that
love
seems
that.
to be
I take good
that seems to be
Chandler.
a theme. And you mentioned it was a Friends scene because we saw that in a previous episode where Monica was getting roasted by her parents, and she was trying to get Ross in there to like, "Hey man, come take some of this heat off of me."
Yeah.
It was the same thing. Now
Yeah.
Chandler with the blowtorch and like spread the heat and like, you guys fight with each other and deal with it.
But yeah, I love that. That's an A+ scene for me.
A+ for sure.
And I also have to say, Joey freaking nails the damn Ross impression.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
He does.
Oh,
What does he say to him
does
again?
he? Oh, you do you?
And then Rachel nailed it too. She nailed his impression as well.
Yeah,
I just
Rachel
can't remember
always.
the exact words that Joey used because it was spot on.
Oh, you do you? That's what he says.
Back at Central Perk, Ross and Joey are hovering over Chandler, who has a cigarette lit, trying to convince him of his health hazards and smoking, tell him that Chandler, this is not good for you, essentially. But Chandler doesn't care. He's like, the bottom line is smoking is cool and you know it.
Don't you realize what you're doing to yourself?
Hey, I've had it with you guys and your cancer and your emphysema and your heart disease. The bottom line is smoking is cool, and you know it.
It sounds like such a child. It's so funny.
Oh yeah, he is. And I still say that stuff. I'm like, oh, only cool people do this. Whatever it is that I'm doing. I still use that. Alan's on the phone and he wants to speak to Chandler, which the big old brick phone that they had in 1994, the cell phone. Chandler seemed excited to talk to Alan and runs up and grabs the phone. Alan says something to Chandler. And whatever it is that he told Chandler, Chandler puts the cigarette down, and just like that, Alan saves the day, showing how powerful Alan is amongst these Friends characters and how much power he has over them. The funniest part for me of the scene, Rachel's like,
I knew he was gonna
he's
love
good.
this. I knew he was gonna love this.
And what does Ross say?
He says, "If only he was a woman."
If only he were a woman. And
Yeah.
Rachel's like, yeah.
Yeah, I knew you would love that.
I thought, the thought that came to my mind was, is Rachel a lesbian before Ross can even convert her?
No, but we do later. I don't want to step on later seasons, but we do find out. Let's just say Rachel did some experimenting in college with some sangria.
Ooh.
Is all I'm going to say.
No need for a spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Back
Let's
at
get
Monica's
to-
apartment. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. No, this is what I'm talking about. Let's get to it.
Yeah. So back at Monica's apartment, the gang is hanging out in the sitting area watching Lamb Chop. Moby, the way Chandler said,
Yeah.
"How old is that sock?" had me die. The dude was feeding for a cigarette so bad.
He said, "Oh, lamb chop!" Like he's just like so mad at him. It's not even just the song; it's the name, it's the
He
song.
hated everything. Bro,
It was
you know where I lost
everything.
it?
Yeah.
Tears are rolling down my face. Ross is like, no, he's like, he changes his nicotine patch. And Chandler's like, oh, I'm alive with pleasure now.
But even before that, they said, "Where's Joey?" He said, "I killed him."
Ooh, lamb chop. How old is that sock? If I had a sock on my hand for 30 years, it'd be talking too.
Okay, I think it's time to change somebody's nicotine patch.
Hey. Where's Joey?
Joey ate my last stick of gum, so I killed him. Do you think that was wrong?
Is that what you want to hear? Dude, he
mad at
slayed this
everything.
episode.
I have related with that so much. I was like, that may have been my favorite Chandler moment of all time.
Dude, that was some really good writing. Man. This episode killed it. We'll get to the
lamb
recap.
chop! If I had an ugly sock like that, I'd be mad too.
Dude, that was so funny.
Let's change his nicotine patch. I'm alive with pleasure.
I'm alive now.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Monica goes to Joey's apartment to grab Joey. She's about to reveal something. Meanwhile, Phoebe tells the gang this Sodas company is giving her $7,000 for the thumb. And on her way to the apartment, she stepped in gum. What is up with the universe? Joey enters the apartment looking like he got pulled out of the shower by Monica. How did these two never hook up? Like, is she just gonna go into the shower, grab him butt ass naked? Like, and man, like they kind of look good together too. I'm surprised with all the innuendo going on that never happened.
Look at y'all just starting stuff.
I'm trying to start stuff. I'm trying to rewrite the Friends history. Monica tells everyone she's breaking up with Alan. Everyone is taken back, and we start to hear some of the best stuff. We hear some of the cliches that we heard from the opening scene.
Hold on, real quick.
Yeah.
I love the line by Phoebe whenever Monica starts to tell him. She's like, "All right, I need to tell y'all something," and then Phoebe goes, "Oh wait, I'm getting deja vu. Never mind." And then Monica goes, "All right, I need to tell y'all something." She goes, "Okay, yeah, there it is."
Okay.
That was lamb chop.
Oh,
Favorite
please,
show.
guys, we have to talk. Wait, I'm getting a deja vu. No, I'm not. All right, we have to talk. There it is.
There it is. Which is so clever. It's like she planted that seed.
Good. Phoebe was killing me this episode. All right, go ahead.
It's like she knew there was a serious moment coming, and she's like, "Let me just break the ice real quick."
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, that was so funny.
Yeah. So a couple of favorite lines. It was just like a series of really good cliches. Like Ross is like, "Is there somebody else?" And Monica's like, "Things change, people change." And Rachel's like, "We didn't change," which was so funny.
Yeah.
And Joey's like,
Monica's
"So just like
giving
that,
them-
it's over."
Yeah. So she's giving them some of the breakup lines that they were talking about in the
From the
opening
beginning.
scene. So now it's coming
Yeah.
full circle, but she's using it on the whole group.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny.
That was funny. And she was like, "Look, I can go on pretending, but..." And Joey's like, "Okay, like he's accepting it. Go on, pretend. Please don't let it stop." And then we see the very next scene, the breakup with Alan. Monica begins the scene by apologizing to Alan, telling him she's sorry. Alan seems like he was taken by surprise, but then admits he's also relieved. And Monica's like, "Relieved?" And Alan was like, "I had a great time with you. I just can't stand your friends." And that was the punchline of the entire episode. They set that up from the very beginning of the scenes and brought us back full circle, which was amazing.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
I didn't see that coming either, and that was great.
Yeah.
I tell you what, also I didn't see coming.
What's that?
is some of the best stuff in this episode or these Friends episodes happens after the credits in those little last 15-second, scenes that they'll show. And this is where they're all sitting around the table at Monica and Rachel's apartment. They're having cheesecake and ice cream, whatever. And Rachel says, "Remember when we went to Central Park and rented boats? That was fun."
Yeah.
Ross is like, "Yeah, he could row like a Viking." Dude, if you look at Lisa Kudrow's face, Phoebe, she tried so hard not to break. As soon as Ross said that, because he was sitting right behind her, she almost lost it.
Yeah.
And then Chandler was like, "You know what? Screw this. I'm going out for a cigarette." He's about to leave, and Phoebe breaks it off for him, or breaks up his habit for him. She's like, "Hey, if you quit smoking, I'll give you the $7,000 that I got from the soda company." He's like, "All right, yeah, let's do it."
Yeah. Not to break any news or spoil anything, but Chandler owes her $7,000.
Chandler owes her $7,000.
Chandler owes Phoebe $7,000 later on in the series.
Does he? Interesting.
I'm saying he does. She says, "I'll give you if you never smoke again. I'll give you $7,000."
Oh, got it.
I wonder if she ever got that $7.
Yeah. He owes it back to her now.
Yeah.
I felt like this entire episode was built around that one punchline, which was great. It was well done for the writers to bring that whole thing back together. The first couple of episodes, I touched on this love story that the writers were hitting on. This one, it seemed like they moved away from the Monica or from the Ross and Rachel love story and focused a little bit more on the friends and the supportiveness of the friends and developing their characters. And we're seeing Phoebe this episode. She flourished. She looked amazing. She was great. We're starting to see her and Chandler get a little bit more story and more lines. And for me, this was a great Friends episode. I give this one an 8.4.
8.4.
Yes.
Yeah, so I like this episode also, probably not as much as you did. I did enjoy that they used Phoebe a lot more. I thought Chandler was on fire this episode. They used a lot more of the cast, so that was nice. I didn't think it was as funny, or it didn't keep me. There wasn't enough storylines, I guess. I got a little bogged down with the one main storyline. So with that, I'm gonna give it a 7, an even 7. Yeah, still very good episode, well above average. Yeah,
I love that episode. If you'd like to send hate mail to Moby, please send it to.
there's no hate mail. That's higher than a lot of things. Also, give me your favorite.
I was about to get to that.
Give me your favorite.
Chandler, for me, from the guys, smoked it this episode. Untouchable. So many great lines. Such great delivery. His best scene is him just being angry and feeding for that cigarette. Just the subtle things that he did were amazing. And then from the girls' side, I want to give it to Phoebe, but I felt like there were some things that Rachel did that were just really, really funny. And she also did a great job for the limited role that she had. So I'll give it to Rachel this episode.
All right. Yeah, hands down, Chandler. I mean, he did. This was he destroyed it. From the beginning to end. I thought he was hilarious in this episode. He was the main reason I gave it a 7. Like that's why, or I love the episode as much as I did. And I'm gonna give it to Phoebe. I thought she did a really good job. I liked her liners. This is probably the most they've used her in all the episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Phoebe. I'm gonna go with the Phoebsters on that one.
Showing some love to the Phoebes.
Yep. All right, so that's going to be our episode for today. Thank y'all for joining us. That was season 1, episode 3, the one with the thumb. Make sure you come back and join us next week, where we will be discussing season 1, episode 4. Yasser, do you know the name?
The one with George Stephanopoulos.
Stephanopoulos.
Yeah, I actually don't remember the details of this episode, but
yeah, well, we'll get into it next week. The only one I really remember is the girls being outside trying to see him take off his clothes for some reason.
Yeah. Can I make one more comment? Is that how did Rachel go and play softball? And we later see in episodes that she came and played football. So, anyways, we'll have to keep up with Rachel and her sports activities or lack thereof.
Have you seen what she looks like?
Yeah, she's the first pick on everybody's team.
Yeah, do you not want to? I mean, even if she can't play.
Yeah.
She's first on my team. That's
Just
all I
stand
got.
there. Here's a glove.
I don't even know why you would ask that question, to be honest with you.
I'll go stand in the corner.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is our episode, and we'll see y'all next week. Yasser, take us out.
Until next time, cue the outro.